It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the first of the Industry Leaders Talk series hosted by the New York Institute of Technology's College of Engineering and Computing Sciences. My name is Babak Beheshti, Dean of the College. This series is co-hosted by our college as well as the IEEE Region 1. My thanks go to Mr. Ed Palacio, the IEEE Region 1 Director. Our audience today is composed of IEEE professionals, IEEE members, and student members from across the northeastern United States, as well as College of Engineering and Computing Sciences students, alumni, and a number of distinguished guests. I would like to thank the College of Engineering's Dean's Executive Advisory Board, particularly its chair, Dr. Robert DeFazio, who has been instrumental in organizing this series. We have 5 more talks scheduled as part of this series this spring. We would love to have the same audience participate in the remaining talks in the series as well. Moreover, we hope that this series becomes another recurring signature event for the college. Please know that this lecture will be recorded and the recording will be made available to you in a follow-up communication. Our first industry leader in this series is Mr. Mitch Maiman, President and co-founder of Intelligent Product Solutions, IPS. Please review Mitch's bio sketch available on the event website. Mitch is also a member of the College of Engineering's Dean's Executive Advisory Board. Without any further ado, I will pass it to Mitch for his talk. Mitch?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind introduction. I'm going to share my screen, and I'll bring up the presentation. Okay, here we go. First, I'd like to thank Dean Beheshti for inviting me to speak in this series and for allowing me to participate as a member of the Dean's Board of Advisors. Some of the sponsors that we have for this event and some of the other speakers that will follow in my footsteps as we go through this process and work out the kinks. I'm the president and co-founder of Intelligent Product Solutions. My co-founder and COO is Paul Severino. He's an alum from NYIT. I'm a Hofstra grad and a Columbia University grad. And he and Paul and I were the ones who founded IPS. What I'm happy to do today is share with you not just our experience in starting IPS about a little over 13 years ago. As I tell you a little bit more about our company, what we do, you'll hear that we have a lot of clients that we've worked with and prospects that we've worked with, and I personally have worked with over the years that are in the early stage or startup stage of business. And I'm pleased that I can not only share perspectives from my own personal experience, but those that I vicariously learned in working with other early stage and startup clients. I think that the reason for me picking this subject is that I'd like to just sort of let it serve as a inspiration and a gut check at the same time for those of you thinking about entrepreneurship. It can be a wonderful, fantastic, stimulating, rewarding journey, but it would be, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you there weren't bumps along the road and things that you should be fully prepared for mentally and otherwise as you go through the process or consider going through the process of starting your own business. So I'm not here to discourage you. In fact, in some ways I will be encouraging to you, but I'll also provide you a healthy dose of reality based on both my experience and those of my clients and folks that I mentor and coach. So I'll give you a little bit of background about me and IPS, talk a bit about why start a business. Then I'll get into some of the real realities that have to do with the good and the bad of starting and operating your own business. I'll provide you a few tips for success, and then we can open the floor to questions. By definition, in an hour or less, I can't tell you everything you need to know about starting a business. I can share you some of these highlights that you'll see here, but I'm open to talking with just about anybody who has an idea about starting a business, and I'm always happy to share the benefit of my experience and to help in any way that I practically can. We founded IPS in January of 2008. I don't know how many of you remember this. January 2008 was the start of the recession. I sure wish somebody in the economics world would tell us when the recession begins before you get to the end of it, because I don't know that my partner and I would have had the courage to do what we did, knowing we were really at the very beginning of what turned out to be a pretty severe recession. We found it in January of the year. It was my partner and I in my upstairs bedroom. We quickly grew out of that. We grew very rapidly for about 6 months, built up staff. And then as a result of the recession, we went into about a 6-month hole where we literally couldn't pay people for us to do what we do. And then we had a very, very sharp uptick again. So it was really a step function hole in our growth. But fortunately, we recovered and no worse for wear. As I mentioned, we started out with just a couple of us. We gradually added staff. We're currently about 100 people, designers and engineers. We're in product design work, and most of our current customers are in the commercial and industrial space, but a lot of them are, we do also do some work in med tech and also even in DoD/aerospace domains. I mean, some of our clients that you would know are people like Google, Becton Dickinson, Zebra here on Long Island, which many of you from IEEE will remember as Symbol Technologies in the old days. Pepsi is one of our clients. Anheuser-Busch is one of our clients. But for every one of these big flagship clients of ours, there are probably 5 to 10 small and mid-sized clients that we have. And beyond that, there are probably at least a dozen or 20, maybe 15 prospects that I talk to early stage and startups that are really not even clients of ours, just people that I freely advise and coach and help through the process of getting their business started or making a decision never not to go forward with it, or at least at this time. We also have relationships with a number of investor groups and advisors. So as I get to know some of these early stage companies and they need capital, in certain instances, I'm able to connect them up to people that have money, which is important in an early stage as an entrepreneur. So let's talk about why start a business, the good and the bad. A good reason is that you have a dream, a vision, an idea for a product, a passion. I had a dream for a long time in my life. I'm certainly much closer to the end of my career than I am to the beginning. But all through my career, I had a dream of having my own business. I came from a family of entrepreneurs who had drugstores in Brooklyn. And I had sort of the dream of having my own business at some point. It was part of my DNA. I wanted to take responsibility for my own success. I think I got to a certain point in being with, what was mostly large companies. I went from being an engineer to being a manager to being an executive. And I decided at this stage of my career, I was in my mid-50s at that point, that I wanted to really take responsibility for my own success. And this is really important. Having an idea for what I wanted to do is insufficient. My partner and I had an idea that there was a gap in the market for the kinds of services that we wanted to offer. To shed more light on that, we're not a vertically oriented product development services company, in that we do more than software, we do more than hardware, we do more than mechanical. We have a team of mechanical, electrical, software engineers, embedded systems people, designers, user interface people, all under the one roof. And at the time we started the company, there was a market need for a company like that. How did I know? I was buying services from the other kinds of companies, and I couldn't find anybody that looked like us. So that's where our idea came from. So we knew there was a gap. There's some bad reasons for starting, being an entrepreneur. If you think you're going to walk in the door, hang out your shingle, and get rich quick, let me put that to rest. I may say this again later. If you really want to get rich quick, go buy lottery ticket. The probability of you hitting a huge win in a quick order is about as quick as buying a lottery ticket. and seeing whether you get the right numbers. So it's not fast. Most of us, we see all the examples in the world of companies that succeeded very quickly. We see the ones that failed really quickly. But the truth be told, most of us as entrepreneurs are in the middle. And it takes a long, hard slog to do what we do and be successful. Don't do it because you want more flexibility in your life. I mean, this is not a path to flexibility. Owning your own business, starting your own business, certainly in the beginning, and for quite some time, will take over your life to a large degree, if not entirely. Don't do it because you think this might apply more to my cohorts here that are in the IEEE that working for other people don't like reporting to anyone. Lest you think that I don't report to people. It is true. I don't have a real boss, but I do report to a board of directors who has many questions for me all the time, and I have to be able to respond to them. And even before we had sold the company, and we operated as an independent company, my customers I had to report to. I had to satisfy them. There was always somebody you have to satisfy. You have to satisfy the bank. You have to satisfy your customers. So you're always, in essence, reporting to somebody. You're never the king, the sole king of your and master of everything. And one thing to be careful of is just falling too far in love with your idea. You have to be critical in assessing what you're doing, making sure that not only is your idea one that you love, but is there a business for it? As we'll talk more about over the next few minutes, being an entrepreneur is more than creating a technical product. It's really quite a bit more. And I will go into more of that as we progress. So here's what the reality is like, the good. Control my own destiny. To a large degree, we do. Until we sold the company, we decided what we wanted to work on. We decided who we wanted to hire, for good, bad, and otherwise. It's empowering to control your own destiny. Realizing the financial rewards. Indeed, when we make profits, my partner and I made decisions about how we disperse those profits to ourselves and to our staffs, realizing that if you're selfish and you're a pig and you decide that all the rewards of running and operating your business are solely going to go to you and not filter down, that will be an important message to your staff. And in a company like mine, the staff is the most crucial thing in my company. Without my team, we have no company. Enjoy what I'm doing every day. I think this is really important. When I was an executive at Symbol, I was a VP of engineering. And when I got terminated from that position after changes in higher level senior management, I spent a lot of time soul searching about what I wanted to do. And in doing that, I said, well, what does a good day look like? And the way we led to this services business was I realized I liked managing and running engineering projects. For the most part, I enjoy doing that. And I enjoy seeing the newest technology, things that the world doesn't know about. I get to see these things quite often, months or years before they hit the market, and I find that very rewarding. I don't have to deal with a lot of office politics. Really, it's very, very limited. We're very focused. I don't have to sit here and wonder, what is my boss like? Does he like me? Is he making decisions because he doesn't like my personality? Frankly, my bosses, they're happy as long as I do what I'm supposed to do in delivering business results. As long as my clients are happy with the work output from my team, that is my politics, is just making sure I'm doing a good job at what we do every day. And I have very little other office politics to deal with. I don't have bosses that bungee jump in and out. Those of you who've worked in industry have probably seen this. You get hired into a company, you're doing work, you got a great boss, you love it. 6 months in, he's gone, somebody else is your boss. You have to learn another whole set of rules of engagement, how they like to work, what their style is, reposition yourself in your boss's eyes. He's there for a year, boom, he's gone, he's been promoted, you got somebody else. I don't have that. My partner and I run the company, and as from the standpoint of that, there's no bosses jumping in and changing my day-to-day way of living. This is a big one. I take pride in what we built. I mean, this is something you get as an entrepreneur. When you have some success, it's yours. and it is its own reward in many ways. Being successful does not necessarily mean that you have an exit for $1 billion in cash. You can take pride in a company like as we do that has a lot of happy customers. I have happy employees and staff members. I get to do interesting things every day. That is a source of pride. That is a reward for being an entrepreneur. I have choice in what I get to do every day. To some degree, I enjoy and I find that to be a good thing that my partner and I get to have choices about where we are and where we go. And we're not some lower cog in a huge organization where somebody 6 levels above decides what's going to happen and we have to just respond to that. There's good and bad to that, as we'll talk about, but we get to make the choice. Get to build my own team. This is a really big thing because I'm a people person. My partner is as well. The team that we have, the senior team we have, is largely people that I've known from working in the past. I brought them in because they have different skills from mine. They're better engineers than I ever was. In many ways, they're better managers than I was. They're better in many ways, and they're more diverse. And they're people I really like. And so they're either people I knew, people my partner knew, people that we've already hired knew. So we have really a cherry-picked team of people that I really enjoy working with every day, and that is a good. But let's now talk about some the other realities, the bad. We were lucky in that we didn't need to go bring in, investors. But like any small business or startup business, you need working capital. You take on a client, you sell them a product, you sell them a service. It could take 30, 60, 90, 120 days to get money, to get paid. Meanwhile, you got staff, you got suppliers, everybody wants to be paid right away. You need working capital, even if you're the smallest of businesses. And it takes a while. It's frustrating. It takes a lot longer than you expect. I have clients and folks that I coach and mentor. I know some that have taken 2 to 3 years to raise capital. It's a really a long road, and it's rarely short. So let's put it that way. Even if it's moderate in length, it's never short. You'll own the responsibilities of the bad days, and there will be bad days. There'll be customers that are late to make payments. There'll be employees that leave. There'll be the product development and something will go wrong. There's going to be bad days, and there's nobody else to blame. There's nobody else to take responsibility. You got to take it, own it, and embrace it. And if you're not ready to, you're not ready to be an entrepreneur. It's stressful. Goes to do with the first couple. This is something you may not realize. You're going to spend a lot more time with lawyers and accountants than you ever thought possible. And you might say, well, why is that? It's a small company. I'm starting up. Let's just start with accountants. It comes the end of the year, you're going to have to do taxes. And if you don't want to, if you don't want to do a shoddy job of preparing your tax returns for even a small business and risk being called in front of the IRS, you're going to have a tax accountant. And it's not going to be clear or easy for those of us who came out of the engineering community. You're going to need help in that regard. If you end up public or you end up with investors, expect to spend a lot of time with accountants on more than taxes, but all of your profit and loss statements and your revenue and your everything that goes along with reporting. Lawyers you're going to need. I mean, any business that you go into, it's not just your corporate papers to start the company. You're going to engage in contracts with others. You need lawyers to look these things over. In our business, when we sign up, let's say with a large company like Becton Dickinson, they'll come to us with a 30-page set of terms and conditions. I don't know about you, but I can't read a 30-page legal document and make head or tails of it. I have to pay a lawyer to do that. We'll come back to that again, to the subject of lawyers again, but you're going to spend a lot of time with people like this. It won't just be working on the fun, and challenging and intellectually stimulating engineering work. Work is 24/7, 365. You'll be away on vacation. A key employee leaves and your project is left in a lurch. You're going to have to be on call no matter where you are. In my business, if a client gets upset, I've got to go deal with it wherever I am. If I'm on vacation, I'm in Florida with my family, and I've got a client that wants to talk to the CEO, I got to pick up that call. You really got to be prepared that you cannot. It's going to be extremely difficult to compartmentalize your life to keep your business, certainly in the beginning, to keep your business from taking over your life. It's part of the territory of being an entrepreneur. Never enough time, money, or people. Obviously, things take longer to do than you ever thought they were going to take. They cost more money, and you never have enough people. This is hard. Is something that I think almost anybody who's an entrepreneur early stage has to face. You really got to be prepared for being all in. When my partner and I started the company, we didn't need to bring in external investors, but we did need a banking relationship with a line of credit that could help us cover the float period between when, we did the work, paid our salaries, and got paid from our clients. For us to get a bank to provide us a line of credit, we had to commit everything we owned. That we had to collateralize our houses, our life insurance policies, our personal mutual funds, our 401ks, our IRAs. There was nothing that my partner and I owned that did not get collateralized in order to be able to get a line of credit. Now, it eventually eased up as we became not an early stage or startup company, and we had revenue and margin profits and everything like that. But you got to be prepared for going all in. If you have no money, be prepared to figure out how you're going to fund your daily living, because it's going to cost money to do whatever you're going to do. And even if you don't draw a salary, it's going to be really tough. Family and friends are your first place to go for help, but you're going to be all in. And in the beginning, it's personal. Even if you take family and friends' money to start your company, it's not the same as an impersonal relationship with a bank. You're going to feel an obligation to those folks to make sure their money that they put into your company is protected. Again, I said you're going to be all in. Things will cost more and take longer. I mentioned that already. Here's the ugly things. Now, the bad isn't bad enough. And I'm not trying to dissuade you from doing this. I'm just trying to get you mentally prepared for the journey ahead. There's going to be some really, really bad days. There were days, we started our business in January. By May, we were starting to have problem landing projects. By June, we had no more projects coming in, and our projects were running out, and our payroll kept going, regardless. So there were days where we literally had to pay employee salaries out of our home equity lines of credit. Those are horrible days. There's days when you can't see the future and it looks really bleak. You have to be prepared for them and know that you'll, have confidence and self-confidence, know you're going to get through them. But they're going to be horrifying, terrifying moments, and you should be prepared for that. There's scoundrels out there. Now, this is something that I hardly realized was as big an issue as it is. In working for big companies most of my career, most big companies are fairly ethical. I think that when they make a commitment to do something, they pay their bills, they pay more or less on time. They don't really try to cheat you. But in the real world, there are scoundrels. There are people that, will engage with you and have no intention of being fair or equitable in how you're treated. In my business, which is a service business, I have had people come and do work for us, knowing full well they did not have the money to make the payments, and we got stuck holding the bag. There's people that I wouldn't call them scoundrels, but there's incompetent people. Most of us, I think, as engineers, we tend to think of ourselves as pretty smart, and as a whole, I think we are. If I can use that little bit of arrogance, but not everybody out in the world is that smart. People will find ways to get you in trouble by their own incompetence. So, in our case, we've had clients engage with us with money, but they mismanage their money and they don't realize they've run out of money until they realize their last check bounced. So there's both scoundrels and incompetent people out there. You should be aware of that. You're going to make sacrifices in your personal life. I've already talked about how it can be 24/7, 365. You're going to have nights you're working really late. There's going to be weekends you're going to have to work. Look, this is not the end of the world, but you want to go out and do something with your kids and on a Sunday, and there's just something you got to do for the business. There's nothing else. There's no other way around it. You're going to end up making sacrifices in your personal life. If nothing else, if you have a partner, a wife, a spouse, whatever, you're going to be grumpy some days when you have these ugly days. And that's going to affect your personal life. People problems will drive you crazy. I said there's not much politics, but that doesn't mean there aren't people problems. People will drive you insane. We're lucky. The folks that my workforce is engineers and technical people. They're pretty logical, but they will be pretty illogical in certain instances. So they will drive you crazy. People will leave for the most, for all kinds of reasons, and they'll be scratching your head to say, what did I do wrong? These things will drive you nuts. If you have success, expect to spend time in court or staying out of court. There's lots and lots of ways. If you have a product company and you have any success, expect that other people in adjacent, existing and in other companies in the market are going to look at what you're doing and try to find out if you're violating their intellectual property, if you're violating their patents. There are people who, in my business, that don't pay their bills that we have to go after, or people who will claim, problems with your product caused them an issue, or your workmanship was not right. These things are going to either drag you in court, or you're going to spend time trying to keep out of court. This is part of the situation of being with lawyers. It's almost impossible. The advice that was given to me early on, when I complained about the fact that I never got out from having to have lawyers working with me, said, well, if you want to be in business, you're going to have lawyers, and I share that with you. So let me share with you, no more ugly stuff. Let me get into some of the tips that I have for you along the way. I was lucky. I found a good partner. My partner, Paul Severino, some of you may know him. He and I worked together at Symbol starting in 1991, before starting IPS. We were good friends. We were co-workers. We sat alongside of each other and worked collaboratively for, I would say, 15 years before we started IPS. So number one, we knew we could work together. We knew we had compatible personalities. We were both people that were able to compromise and not butt heads. I won't say we've never had days when we've had, let's just say, strong disagreements, but we always were able to work it out. And if you could find a good partner, it's like finding a good partner in marriage. It makes life easier. We have complementary capabilities. And that's not just with my partner. He and I are both engineering background, but the things we like to do and the things we hate to do are the opposite for each other. So we don't often clash about who's going to do what. The things that I like to do, things like this, my partner hates doing. The things he likes to do, and he does like most of the work on our finances, it drives me crazy. I can't stand it. It's fine. Well, somebody's got to do each of these jobs. We were complementary. But in building the team, we also look for complementary capabilities, and we were looking for people who could do things that Paul and I couldn't do. People that are technically smarter than I am, people who are better, engineering managers than I am, than we were. We look for people that provide something new to the mix, because an early stage or a startup company, you can't hire everybody you want. You need people that are multi-function capabilities and are complementary, not the same as you. Make sure that and people you're working with, you got the right temperament to keep the collaboration going for the long haul. As I mentioned early, entrepreneurship and startups are not necessarily a rocket ship to the top. It's going to be a long haul. You're going to be in the trenches with people for a long time. Make sure you've got the right mindset and your ability to collaborate with people, because you're going to be working together with a group of folks in stressful situations, all hopefully leading to a great reward, as we were able to find in working to build IPS. Again, be prepared for the long haul. To get capitalized, it takes a long time. generally to raise capital. Just be prepared for that personally and for your business. This is something interesting because in working with early stage companies and startups, they often come into our door with an idea. Having a good idea for a product or a service is not the business. If you cannot make money with what you're planning to do, you do not have a business. It's not entrepreneurship, it's a project. Projects are not a business. A business is something that can make money. So make sure you know that when you're building your team and you're doing your work, you're going to need, as a bare minimum, folks on the outside to help with the marketing of what you're doing, the sales. You're going to need lawyers, you're going to need accountants. You're going to need, if you're planning to manufacture a product, or even get it manufactured by a third party, you're going to need partners in logistics and manufacturing and supply chain. So, you know, it's not just having the right engineering team for a product company. There's a lot more to it. You're going to need service and support. There's quite a lot to it. And just my tip to you is, as you think about your company, as you look for what you need to raise in capital, make sure you're looking holistically at the business and not just at what are the technical skills I need and what are the materials I need to make my product. Be passionate, but do not be blindsided. I will tell you just a couple of quick stories here. I've had clients come to me with ideas who were so passionate about it, but they failed to look at the big picture of the market opportunity. At a time when these smart watches like the Apple Watch and had just come out, and there were Garmin watches and there were Samsung watches, everybody in the world wanted to make a new smart watch. And I've had people come in my door and say, well, can you guys help us engineer and develop a new smart watch? And we'd say, of course we can. We've got all those skills. We've done wearable devices in our past. We have the know-how to do it. But tell me about your product. Why are you coming in the market? And, people would come in and say, well, I see the Garmin watch, it's selling for, $395. I could make one and sell it for $295. And, that is a really bad reason to create a product. It may be a good product, but are you really ready to go to war with Garmin, Samsung, and Apple? You come out with a product that's just as good as, at $100 less than they are. Do you think they're just going to roll over and let you take market share? It's a tough world out there. Make sure you're realistic about your market opportunity. Also, make sure you're realistic about, all aspects of your business. I had a company approach us a number of years ago that made rings, college and high school rings. It's a pretty well-known company in that space. They wanted to make a smart ring that would maybe light up or vibrate when your phone rings. And I said, look, we can do that for you. We have the skills, we have the know-how, but just realize the impact it's going to be on your business, because when you sell a ring, you don't see that customer again till they graduate for high school. They don't see that customer again till they graduate college. And after that, you never see them again. If you sell a customer a Bluetooth connected smart ring, that customer is going to be on your door every couple of years wondering, how come my high school ring doesn't talk to my Apple iPhone 15? Just know that I tried to make sure they were eyes wide open, knowing that when you get into a technology business, what is that going to really mean for your business overall? Make sure you're open about and objective at looking at the competition. What else is out there? And not just what is out there, but the people that are out there, don't assume that they have a successful product and they're not working on the next thing. You have to try to anticipate where people are going to go next. So don't be blinded. Again, I mentioned this earlier, build your team with diverse talents and skills. I know in my own company, we hired another firm to help us with lead generation. It's just something that this other firm is very expert at, and we can capitalize on their expertise and outsource that. We outsourced our HR to another company. They call it a PEO, or professional employee organization. There's lots of things that you can outsource. Keep the things in your company that you need as core competencies, and make sure you have the talents to do the things that are crucial for your business. And the last thing I thought of, and it came late, that I should put in here is, be flexible and ready to pivot. Market opportunities are going to change. New things are going to happen along the way. Be prepared to pivot your product strategy, your service strategy, your product. Be prepared and flexible to respond to things that are going to change in the marketplace. You want me to respond to, or you want to have a conversation with me, the NYIT folks will provide you with my contact info. I'm always available. You can text me, you can email me, you can call me. I will get back. If I can't talk to you at that moment, I promise I will get back to you. I respond to every call. And if I could be of any help to you, coaching, mentoring, or any other way along your journey, I hope I can do it. And I also hope, lastly, that the negative things I presented aren't discouraging you from becoming an entrepreneur, because I can tell you in my case, the good far, far outweighed the bad. I'll take all the bad things that happened to us along the way. I wish I'd known them beforehand so I could have been mentally prepared for it. But it's been extremely rewarding, well beyond the financial. It's been professionally very rewarding. It's been intellectually stimulating. I enjoyed it. It was a great ride. So with that, I'll stay on here and I'll turn it over to my friends at NYIT. Sarah, you got it?
Thanks, Mitch.
Or
Yeah,
Zhang?
so we have a couple questions. How important is a sense of purpose and service while starting a business? How would one manage the urge to be of service and the profitability of a business? So balancing that.
That's a great question. I'm in a services business. And frankly, one of the reasons we started IPS is I always viewed myself, even when I was within a big company, as a service within that company. In starting up a company like ours, I mean, there's limits to what you can do. Customer satisfaction is not only an important thing, it is the only thing in the beginning. If you do not have satisfied customers in a service business, you do not have a business. There is always an alternative. Even to our firm, there's alternatives to us. We have to make our customers happy every day. Sometimes it means I lose money on a project, or we lose money on a project, or we have to make compromises to keep that customer happy within reason. As long as the customer is being honest and straight with us and is reasonable, we make almost any concession we have to keep our customers happy. And in a service business, if that's what you're thinking of, it's the lifeblood. Somebody told me early on, because I'm not a sales background, said to me, the easiest customer to get is the customer you worked for yesterday. And he is absolutely right. And in my business, the old 80-20 rule definitely applies. 80% of our business, 80% of our business comes from the same customers coming back to us year on year. I have to find and land 20% of my revenue from new clients every year. Why? Some clients go under. Some clients don't have a need for what we do every year. I have to find 20% new clients every year. 80% of my effort goes into finding those 20% new customers every year. So service is important. You got to do whatever. If you're in a service business, and even in a product business, you got to do just about any damn thing you have to do to make sure your customers are happy. And by the way, they talk to other people. It's not just in the consumer space. Our engineering community here on Long Island is very small. I'm not more than one phone call away from somebody that knows everybody else in this community. And they all know about us, my company, and how we did on the last job. Your reputation is everything. Good question.
What types of businesses allow you to charge entire payment or subscription in full before the year starts? Any market happening that you see opening up?
Product businesses are a little easier in some ways. Product businesses, you sell a product, you get paid for the product. You almost always have to offer terms, but it's payment in full. But in product businesses these days, especially the ones that are more technically involved, there's generally subscriptions involved, and you want a recurring revenue. You have a recurring revenue model that you're looking for. So it is possible in those kinds of businesses to front load payments, offer a discount for a 6-month contract, for a 1-year contract. We have customers in our business who provide a retainer. We provide a discount for a retainer that might cover work over a whole year. In the services work, what we do in projects and large projects, it's very hard to get the full payment up front. We try generally in our business to get something like a third down on the project, a third that's paid out over a period of the project, and a third upon completion. But it's not always possible to get your money up front. And the one thing you have to know is, you can get favorable payment terms with a small company or a startup. I'm talking about net 15 or net 30 days. But if you want to do work with Becton Dickinson, you're going to get 90-day payment terms. You don't like 90-day payment terms? That's fine. Becton Dickinson will find somebody else to work with. So sometimes you really don't have leverage to negotiate payment terms, and the bigger companies are really the most difficult ones. And you really have to pick your battles with large companies. Do you want to go to war over payment terms, or is there some other matter in the contract that you want to get relief on that is more important to you than worrying about the 120-day payment terms?
It is an inspiration that you started a business in your 50s. In terms of capital raising, did you have any experience with venture capitalists? I'm concerned about age bias, particularly in engineering and technology-related startups.
So, look, I could be naive or blind, but I'm just going to tell you this. It rained lemons and I made lemonade. I didn't go out starting IPS as a 55-year-old guy, and my partner Paul being 52 or something on that order, 50. We didn't go out saying, look, we got the youngest, brightest kids right out of school, come hire us because we're least expensive. That's not us. I said, look, we got the best, most experienced, most technically competent people in the world. We have the go-to people when you're in your company and you have a crisis. We have the go-to people you wanted to use in your company to go solve the problem. I love our entry-level people. I loved them when I was at Symbol. When stuff hit the fan, I didn't go looking for the guy that just graduated from NYT 3 months ago. I go looking for the guy with 25 years experience who solved that problem 15 times over his career. And we set up IPS as a company where that was our value proposition. And so we made sort of the perceptions, really the negative perceptions, we flipped it around and we made it into our competitive advantage. I'll say one other thing. At 55, I was at a decision point career-wise about what to do next. I certainly could have gone down the path of looking for another, VP of engineering position in another big company. It would have meant I'd have to pack up and move. I was really not interested in doing that. It meant, I hate to say it, I had it with working for other people. So it meant I'd have to have yet another boss who I thought was less competent than me. And I really didn't have the patience for that anymore. And I was 55, so maybe I'm not the right guy. And I knew I was no longer the right guy. As much as I enjoyed my hands-on work as an engineer, I wouldn't pay me to be the hands-on engineer because I had been out of it for so long. So starting IPS in some ways was a natural decision for my partner and me. I will say we cheated a little in that when I left IPS, we had gone to work for a very small consulting firm that didn't do engineering services. We built an engineering services business within that company, had a falling out with the owners, and decided to start IPS. And that was a valuable life experience because number one, we learned, A, our team would follow us wherever we go because we pulled our team together from wherever they had gone in the world working for other companies. And B, the clients, I realized once I was in this other company, the clients weren't their customers, they were my family and friends. And so I knew we had the two essential things I needed for us to start our business. I had customers that would come to us and I had staff that would join us. In terms of capital needs, we didn't need to go to an investment bank. And by the way, a services business like ours, it's almost impossible to go to an investment bank or a VC to get funding because these aren't the businesses that generate huge margins. They don't have big time exit strategies. they don't have interest in this. The good thing about what we did is we could bootstrap it. So we started out with my partner and I, and we had billable work for us. And then, 2 weeks in, I had a project and I needed 2 more people. I hired them. Now we have 4 people. I went to my customers and I said, we can do these other things. They gave me a project. I hired on 2 or 3 more other people. From 0, we got to 30 in a year. It's crazy because I thought 30 was the end of the road. I thought that's as far as we were going to go. That was my goal for the company, was to get to 30 people, and we all do some interesting work, and that was it. But it kept growing, and we rode the wave, as they say. So I hope that provides some insights.
Okay, what are some factors that made you decide to shift from in-house staff fulfilling multiple roles to outsourcing work, such as hiring outside HR?
HR is a really good one, and I'm glad you asked that question. And HR is an extremely complex thing. The regulations around employees and employee management change every year, not just at the state level, but at the local level and at the federal level. The rules change all the time. The ways you handle discrimination and bias and creating and managing a tolerant and accepting workplace. These rules change all the time. It becomes a job in and itself just to keep track of all of the rules and the training you need for your people and helping you to build the best company you can from a staffing standpoint. The other thing, which was really, really important on the HR front, and this is something any small early stage company is going to quickly find out, if you need to provide health, if you want to provide health care, and you need to provide health care for your staff, this is a killer expense. In my company, the number 1 expense in the company is salaries. The number 2 is healthcare. It's not the building. It's not the equipment. It's not the CAD tools. It's not the computers. None of that. It's the health insurance. And as a small business, it's almost impossible to get competitive rates on healthcare. We were seeing 20% plus rates from the day we increases from the day we started till the day we brought on a PEO. And then, in being part of a PEO, our staff, from an HR, from a benefits standpoint, from a healthcare perspective, gets aggregated with hundreds of other companies, and then our PEO partner has the negotiating strength to go out and get favorable rates and keep things competitive and manage the expense growth. As an example.
Are you able to get royalties for the products you design for others?
That's a very good question. We don't ordinarily do that. This is a particular thing of our company. There are the services companies that are more open to these kinds of things. We do have customers where we've taken a stake in them and we have equity in their firm. We haven't created product designs of our own for royalties, but we have collaborated with customers in ways where we've traded sweat labor for equity.
So it looks like we're reaching time. So if the participants have further questions, are you on LinkedIn or via email?
I'm on LinkedIn. I think you can look me up, Mitch Maiman. You'll find me very easily on LinkedIn. I think Sarah, in the chat, you could throw my email and my cell phone number in there. People can call me or better to text me and email me. This way I can get back to you at convenience. But I'm happy to reply to anybody. If you're seriously thinking about starting a business and you just want to bounce ideas off of somebody, Dr. Beheshti and many of you know that I make myself available to people all the time. I work with groups on the student side. I work with entrepreneurship programs, not just here at NYIT, but I would do it with folks at Stony Brook. I do it with folks at Hofstra. And I do it because, for me personally, as I said, I get to do what I want. At this point in my career, this is what I want to do. So I make myself available to you.
Great. Thank you, Mitch, for that inspirational talk. Thank you. And great questions from the audience. Really completed the session very nicely. So remember that you can continue your questions with Mitch offline through the contact information that will be provided to you. Thank you all for participating in our inaugural presentation in this series. My thanks go to my colleagues who made this event happen, Dr. Rob DeFazio, Dean Jane Polizzi, Ms. Carmen Marmo Savinetti, and of course, our irreplaceables, Ms. Sarah McGuff and Mr. Tom Leggio. Please tune in for the next talk on March 4th, 12:45 to 1:45 p.m. by Jennifer Thayer, titled, All Speaking is Public Speaking. Make your idea slick and your presence slick. Be well.